George Washington. You probably know the name, maybe the face from the $1 bill, but do you really know the man? He's called the father of his country, a title that sounds almost mythical, like something out of an epic poem. But George Washington wasn't a myth. He was a real person whose life didn't just shape a nation. His character shaped the course of history itself. And the most incredible part? He wasn't born a king. He wasn't born into immense wealth. He became great through something we can all understand: responsibility, sacrifice, and discipline. Let's travel back in time to February 22nd, 1732. That's when George Washington was born in colonial Virginia. His world was small, centered on a modest plantation. Life back then was anything but easy. The days were filled with hard work, and the rules were strict. But a truly pivotal moment arrived when George was just 11 years old. His father passed away. Imagine that. At an age when most kids are just starting to figure out the world, his world was turned upside down. This single event forced him to grow up fast. It was a harsh lesson in responsibility, a profound introduction to the strength you can only find through loss. Unlike many of his peers who would go on to shape the new nation, George Washington never attended college. His classroom was the vast, untamed wilderness of colonial America. He learned through doing, through real-world experience. He picked up the trade of land surveying, a job that required precision, grit, and a deep understanding of the land. This wasn't a desk job. He traveled for weeks on end, charting unknown territory, navigating dense forests and unpredictable rivers. He faced constant danger, from the elements to the unknown. Through this, he didn't just learn how to draw maps. He learned endurance. He learned self-reliance. He learned how to read both the land and the people on it. Then, at the young age of 22, his life took another dramatic turn. George Washington joined the military. He became an officer fighting for the British crown in the French and Indian War. This was his trial by fire. He was young, ambitious, and frankly, he made a lot of mistakes. Some of them were costly. But what set him apart was his ability to learn from those failures. Each setback wasn't a reason to quit. It was a lesson in strategy, in leadership, in courage. He was building the foundation of the general he would one day become. Fast forward a few years, the air in the American colonies is thick with tension. The relationship with Great Britain is souring. New taxes are imposed without representation. Freedoms feel like they're slipping away. The whispers of protest are growing into a roar. Then, in 1775, the roar becomes a revolution. War breaks out. The 13 colonies, desperate for a unified front, form the Continental Army, and who do they turn to for leadership? George Washington. He is unanimously chosen as commander-in-chief. Now let's be clear about what he was inheriting. This Continental Army was, to put it mildly, a mess. It was a ragtag collection of farmers, merchants, and volunteers. They were desperately short on everything: food, proper clothing, boots, and most importantly, weapons and ammunition. They were about to face the most powerful military force on the planet. The British Army was a well-oiled machine, full of experienced, professional soldiers who were well-fed and well-supplied. The odds were laughably, impossibly long. But George Washington did not quit. He didn't lead from a comfortable tent miles behind the lines. He led by example. He was there, on the ground, with his men. He shared their hunger, their misery, their bone-chilling cold. He endured what they endured. This wasn't just a strategic choice, it was who he was. And it inspired a fierce, unbreakable loyalty in his soldiers. They weren't just fighting for a cause. They were fighting for him. Think about the brutal winter at Valley Forge. It's become a legendary tale of hardship. The soldiers were starving, freezing, and riddled with disease. Their clothes were in tatters. Many lost hope. Many simply walked away, but Washington stayed. He rode through the camp daily, offering what little encouragement he could. He understood that patience was a form of strength, that simply surviving, holding the army together, was a victory in itself. And slowly, painstakingly, things began to turn around. With the help of foreign officers like Baron von Steuben, the army trained. They learned discipline. A new sense of professionalism, and with it a glimmer of hope, began to return. The tide of the war began to shift. With crucial military and financial support from France, An American victory started to seem less like a fantasy and more like a real possibility. The climax came in 1781 at Yorktown, Virginia. Washington, in a brilliant joint operation with French forces, trapped the main British army. After a relentless siege, the unthinkable happened. The British forces surrendered. The war was over. America was free. What happened next is perhaps the most important, most defining moment of Washington's life. After years of war, holding near absolute power as commander of the army, he did something that shocked the world. He resigned his command. He willingly gave up his power and returned to his farm at Mount Vernon. In an age of kings, emperors, and dictators, this act was revolutionary. He refused to become a military ruler. He chose to be a citizen, but the nation he helped create wasn't done with him yet. In 1789, the new United States Constitution was ratified, and the country needed its first president. The choice was obvious and unanimous. It was George Washington. Imagine the pressure. There were no precedents, no rulebook. No one had ever been president of the United States before. Every single decision he made would set the standard for generations to come. He carefully formed the first cabinet, bringing in brilliant but opposing minds like Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. He showed deep respect for the Constitution, ensuring the government operated within its limits. He masterfully avoided the traps of power, refusing to be treated like a monarch. He served 2 terms, 8 years, and then he did it again. He voluntarily stepped down, walking away from the highest office in the land. This decision to peacefully transfer power was just as radical as his military resignation. It cemented the idea that the office was more important than the individual, that leaders serve the people, not the other way around. This single act shaped American democracy forever. In his powerful farewell address, he left the nation with timeless advice. He warned against the dangers of political division, the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition, and the perils of getting entangled in foreign conflicts. George Washington passed away on December 14, 1799. A nation mourned, but his legacy wasn't buried with him. It's not just in the marble monuments or the cities named after him. His true legacy lives in the values he embodied: leadership through service, integrity in the face of temptation, and a profound sense of duty to his country. George Washington proved that true power isn't about how much you can take, but how much you are willing to give up. And that true greatness comes not from a crown, but from character. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more.